Before there was a cross, there was a tree. Before there was a tomb, there was a garden. And before redemption had a name, it had a setting Eden. Today we're diving into Genesis 3, not just to revisit the fall, but to uncover the hidden blueprint of redemption that was planted in the soil of paradise. Eden wasn't just a location, it was a design, a divine ecosystem where humanity and God walked together. No walls, no shame, just purpose, presence, and peace. Adam and Eve weren't just inhabitants, they were stewards. And the garden wasn't just beautiful, it was sacred. Every tree, every breeze, every moment whispered of divine intention. But in the center of this perfection stood a choice, not a trap, not a trick, a tree that represented freedom. Because love without choice isn't love, it's programming. When Eve reached for the fruit, it wasn't just disobedience, it was a shift in trust. She traded divine wisdom for self-made logic. Adam followed, and suddenly the garden changed. Not because the trees died, but because shame was born. But here's the twist. The moment they fell, God didn't retreat. He pursued. He asked, "Where are you?" Not because he didn't know, but because he wanted them to know they were lost. And then he did something unexpected. He covered them. With garments made from sacrifice, blood was shed. Not as punishment, but as a preview. Genesis 3:15 is often called the proto-gospel. God speaks to the serpent and says, "I will put enmity between you and the woman. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel." It's cryptic, but it's code, a prophecy, a promise. That one day a child of Eve would undo the damage, that the serpent's victory would be temporary, that redemption was already in motion. Fast forward to another garden Gethsemane. Jesus kneels, not beside a tree of knowledge, but beneath the weight of obedience. He chooses trust over comfort. He sweats blood instead of tasting fruit. And he walks toward the cross, the tree that would reverse Eden's curse. The gospel doesn't start with a sermon. It starts with soil, with a garden, with a God who walks with us, even when we hide. We all have our Eden moments, times when we reach for what looks good but leads to shame, times when we hide behind fig leaves of pride, fear, or distraction. But the same God who asked, "Where are you?" still asks today. And the same redemption that was whispered in Genesis was shouted from the cross. You are not too far. You are not too broken. The garden may be guarded, but the way back has been opened. So next time you hear the gospel, don't just think of the cross. Think of the garden, because that's where the story began. And that's where your story can begin again. Thanks for watching Faith Unfolded. Subscribe, share, and remember redemption was planted long before it bloomed.